I need to vent before I lose my freaking mind. Here are the waiver wire targets you need to focus on for week 9 of the NBA fantasy season. Andrew Nemhard. I told you I had to vent, right? Listen, just like you, I went to grab him off of the waivers right after he had that big explosive game. Maybe even a day or two before that, some people grabbed him. He didn't really perform after that, right? So some people dropped him. If they dropped him, I would go ahead and pick him up. He is now starting over Benedict Mathurin, and he's getting a lot of usage. He also, in his last 5 starts, has averaged 14.6 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, and 7.6 assists. He's a great ad for categories and points league. So be patient. He also will have some value alongside Halliburton. But if Buddy Hield is traded, his upside is limitless. I would definitely keep an eye on him, especially in dynasty formats. Jalen McDaniels from the Charlotte Hornets. He's rostered in 36% of Yahoo leagues, just 7% of ESPN leagues. With Gordon Hayward consistently, habitually, regularly injured, he's going to find a way to carve out some decent value. Also, LaMelo's been a big question mark. We'll talk about it a little more in the episode, but with LaMelo kind of his future for the season up in the air, somebody needs to kind of rise to the occasion. And also the elephant in the room, Miles Bridges is gone. So there's tons of opportunity and just kind of a runway for him to take off and ascend. Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz. It seems like at some point this season, he's been on the roster of every single one of my fantasy teams. Do me a favor, in the comments, let me know, have you had Walker Kessler on your fantasy team at some point this season? For deeper leagues, say 14-man, 16-man leagues, I will be taking a look at Quentin Grimes. Both Fournier and Rose are out of the rotation, which is going to leave a lot of opportunity for Grimes in the backcourt. He started the last 9 games and he's averaging 33 minutes per game over the last 7 days. I would definitely give him an ad. I want to talk about a few players from the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's start with Santi Aldama. Like many of you, early on in the season when Jaren Jackson Jr. was out, I grabbed him off of waivers and he produced. However, since then, it's been kind of a roller coaster ride, to say the least. Now, this week for week 9, I'm going to grab him, especially in category leagues, because he provides that unique combination of threes and blocks that can really help you win your week. Desmond Bane is still out with a sprained toe, so I'm going to be looking at 2 guys in the Memphis backcourt that could provide some value for week 9. The first guy I want to talk about is John Conchar. When somebody is out from the Memphis backcourt, he usually capitalizes on it. He's super consistent when it comes to filling in that role. The second guy is coming off of injury, has tons of upside, Zaire Williams. And quickly, 2 more guys I would take a look at this week from the Boston Celtics, Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon. By the way, I'm Robin Marks from Game Pick Fantasy Basketball. You can connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Game Pick Podcast. If you love fantasy sports, please consider subscribing. We drop new episodes every week. Now let's go right into our week 9 buy lows and sell highs. Let's start with the buy lows, De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox over the last couple of weeks has been struggling. I mean, he has been on the struggle bus front row, front seat. He's averaging 15.8 points per game in this period, which is about 7 points down from his season average. I would take advantage of this and send some offers and see if you can buy low. My next buy low candidate, Jonas Valanciunas. I know people are not excited about him this year. You probably drafted him in a place where he is not actually returning the investment of the draft capital that you put into him. However, this is the time. He looks like he's picking up slowly, and I expect him to ramp up. So if you can send some of your bottom tier guys to bring him back, I would go for it. I think one of the best times to take advantage of a buy low opportunity is when a player is injured. And one of the players that I talked about last week, but I got to talk about again, Karl Anthony Towns. Send some offers for Cat, send some of your bottom tier players and see if you can find a frustrated owner in your league who will maybe come off of Cat. Another injury buy low, Robert Williams, aka the Time Lord. He's ramping up slowly but surely and will be on the court very soon. Now I know there's going to be a couple of weeks for him to get ramped up, but this is your opportunity. Send over somebody off the waiver wire that has a big explosive game and see if you could bring home one of the top performers in fantasy, especially for category leagues. Another injury buy low, DeJounte Murray. DeJounte has a little bit of a tweak. I think he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, so I don't think it's a serious injury. However, people are probably panicking. Why don't you send over an offer and see if you can bring him back to your squad? Now, let's talk about sell highs for week 9 of the NBA fantasy season. Anthony Davis. Oh, the brow is going off, y'all. He's in the top 3 for NBA fantasy right now for most platforms and formats. Listen, this guy is the truth. I'm the first person when I have a bad call or make a mistake is to say that my bad, yo. I was harping on my soapbox for people not to draft Anthony Davis because he's just burned me so many times. But people always call a person injury prone when they have injuries year to year until they're healthy. I'm praying and hoping that Anthony Davis can stay healthy this year, but I don't think it's going to happen. With that said, I would go ahead and sell high on him if you can bring back first round value. So if you're trading him for second and third round value, I wouldn't do that. He's the type of player that you could flip for a Jokic or a Giannis with the right package. So what I would do is offer a 1-for-1, let's say Giannis for Anthony Davis. If they don't bite, then throw in a lower tier player after that. And I think you could actually execute the deal. The next NBA sell high is Kawhi Leonard. And Kawhi is really not a sell high, more like sell if you were high enough to draft him. He's the other player that I was totally off with in the offseason. Like, he put the off in offseason for me. I don't bang with Kawhi Leonard, and I've so far been right about my projections for his fantasy season output. However, he is on the brink of being healthy. If he can string together a couple of games, like puts up some good numbers, I would try to move on from him as fast as possible. My next sell high is Anthony Edwards. With Karl Anthony Towns out, he's averaging 27 points a game, 5.7 assists, and 6 steals per game. Is that real? That's crazy. Listen, you got to take advantage of this. I mean, I love Anthony Edwards, and I'm not trying to trade him, but this is a deal that I would make to get some first round value, maybe even second round value if I could. My next sell high is D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo typically kills your field goal percentage. I mean, last year, he averaged 41.1 from the field. But over the last 2 weeks, again, with Karl Anthony Towns out, he's averaging 46.8 from the field. I would take advantage of that, see if you could bring home some higher value. Now let's talk about some injury sell lows. Yes, I said sell lows. I know I hate selling low, but we got to talk about LaMelo, y'all. What's going on? What's happening? Like, this is the whole season now. We're like a quarter of a way through the NBA season. Your man has played a couple of games. I'm really concerned. Like, is Charlotte going to tank? Is he going to be done for the rest of the season? Listen, you got people out there right now holding LaMelo and waiting, but he might not play this season. So now we got to think about the risk. If you're in a position where you're losing, you're in a pinch, your record is not good, you really got to consider, unfortunately, selling low on LaMelo. The next player on the injury sell low list, Cade Cunningham. Oh my God, that breaks my heart to even say it. Ugh. But they have no reason really to bring him back. They might be in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, and they might be tanking. So if you can get some value from him because you're in a pinch and your record is not good, you might have to make a tough decision and trade away Cade while he's injured. Next up, we're going to do the Q&A from our Discord. The first question comes from Carrick. Carrick says, long-term in fantasy, Scotty Barnes or Evan Mobley? Who would you rather have? This is a good one. For me, I really, really like Mobley. I have a feeling he's going to be like the new Tim Duncan, right? But Scotty Barnes is the rookie of the year. He has shown that he's a super valuable fantasy producer. But for me, especially when it comes to points leagues and also in dynasty formats, I think I would take Evan Mobley here. The next question is from Ben J9. He says, I just got Kyrie in a trade and he dropped 75 points. Do I try to flip or keep? Listen, I have no faith in Kyrie Irving playing a full season. I hope that he does. I have him on a couple of teams, and it's kind of hard to move him because you have your expectations on what his value is, but people don't want to trade like Kyrie for a top tier player. With that said, I would definitely Try to flip them if you can, but I wouldn't sell them for peanuts. I would definitely try to get some first or second round value. Aussie Boomers wants to know, are there any websites that you use to help with your fantasy team? My number one website to use is #basketball.com. I've been a member, a subscriber for a while in their Patreon to get their premium upgraded features. Also, recently joined their team as a Dynasty Points ranking contributor. So I'm really hyped about being a part of the squad. Listen, the site is very user-friendly and also just tons of analytics and trade machines. It's just a really dope and fun website to use. If you guys want me to do an episode about all of the websites that I like to use for fantasy, please let me know in the comments below. If you need help with your team, drop a comment with your question. I will answer every single comment during week 9. Also, you have to join our private Discord server. To join, all you have to do is hit the link in the description of this episode. And yes, bang on that subscribe button, hit us with a thumbs up, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget, play the waivers, set your lineups, and subscribe on all platforms, you freaking fantasy nerd.